Okay.
And we're on the interweb live.
Hey, right on.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, so
It says
this
there's
is
one viewer. I think it's just you.
it's me. Yeah, yeah. There we go. Um. Uh, so review episode.
Love it.
Love it, love it. Let's get into it. You ready?
Let me get my stuff ready here. Yep.
Got my notes. Got
Got
my
my
fisherman's
notes.
friends. Got my tea. Got my mouse.
Got this.
Keyboard.
Open up show notes. Got it.
All right. Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host Norm,
And I'm Ryan.
and on the we'll have to take that one over again. Blah, my articulation.
Unique New York.
How did I know that one was coming? Here we go. All right. Because you know what happened? I started thinking, okay, we're going to go into reviews, so don't do the whole shtick part. Just go.
Oh, yeah.
And my brain skipped, and then my lips kind of blah blah blah. All right. Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host Norm,
And I'm Ryan.
and on this episode, I'm going to review Mind Management.
And I'm going to be taking a look at Savannah Park.
Oh, I hope we don't have to like.
Pay royalties.
Yeah. Needle drop. We'll call that a needle drop. All right, coming back in. And we're back. This is Cardboard Conjecture. Let's get into some games of late. And Ryan, have you talked about this this series before?
I've never talked about this game on Cardboard Conjecture ever before.
I've never heard of it. Why don't you introduce?
I'm going to be talking about Marvel Champions, published by Fantasy Flight Games. Oh my gosh, I couldn't keep a straight face. Wow, Fantasy Flight Games. I don't know. This has to be an Asmodee issue. That's the distributor for Fantasy Flight Games, because usually there is like a bit of a break in between releases for like these types of living card games. Except for here in Canada, we kind of went boom, 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 boom. Got like a whole bunch of releases in a very short amount of time, which is like, that's great. I love content for Marvel Champions, but my wallet is also hurting. I like it also when it's also spread out over months. Anyways, I picked up the latest scenario pack. They haven't released too many of these, and so the latest one is called The Hood, which is a IP of the Marvel universe that I don't know about. I don't know this character or this villain or anything like that. But what they advertised in this scenario pack was very, very intriguing. He is a villain where you have to shuffle quite a number of different encounter sets into his encounter deck. His like villain scenario only comes with like I think 16 cards, but then like you start by various game effects adding encounter sets into the encounter. So the encounter deck starts very small, but it grows. And this scenario pack comes with, I believe it is 8 new encounter sets that you can part of this set, and you can shuffle into any encounter that you already have for Marvel Champions. So already it's increasing the variability. And the part that many players, myself included, that were very excited to get are a new set of standard and expert cards. So called Standard 2 and Expert 2. So now you get your choice. Do you want to play on Standard or Standard 2? And actually Standard 2 is a little bit more difficult to deal with than the original Standard. And you can now, instead of playing Expert, now you can play Expert 2, which, really, really neat idea for a scenario pack.
Now, question: that's Standard 2. Is that anything like Lord of the Rings has the Nightmare deck, where it's just a little bit more, more difficult? Not that for me it needs to be any more difficult, because that bar's set really high.
Yeah. So how many cards would come in a Nightmare deck? Like from what I understand, it was like a brand new like deck.
Yeah. See, the Nightmare is a reprint of like the originals, but beefed up.
Yeah,
right?
we haven't seen
So
that
I don't
in.
think it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen that in Marvel Champions yet. They do that with Arkham. They're doing that with
Okay.
Arkham Horror called the Return to
Yeah. Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're a little bit more difficult. Yeah, but this one, I think it's just changing up the variability now on standard and expert,
Cool.
which is really cool. The hood scenario itself, if you're just using just the hood scenario pack, you can actually just pick up the hood scenario pack and just play it as is. It's got a set of standard. It's got a set of encounter cards that you can shuffle in. He's actually kind of difficult once you start getting in a whole number of those encounter sets. And a lot of those encounter sets actually synergize together very, very well. There's kind of like I don't know if I didn't know that this was a part of the Marvel Universe, but there's kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of character.
Oh, okay.
And so if he comes out, he's got like beefed up. He's like a beefed up minion, got like 10 health, toughness status.
Wow.
And then there's another card that can come out that can attach to him, which gives him retaliate.
Oh, wow. What a crazy buff.
Oh, yeah. Retaliate and like +4 health. So now he's a 14 health, retaliate, beefy
And he's a
guy.
minion.
And he's just a minion, not like a big bad guy.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's one thing that could possibly happen in
That could
this.
possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Really good. I think that if you're into Marvel Champions, you haven't picked up any scenario packs, this is one to pick up just for increasing your variability in encounter sets and increasing your variability in standard and expert modes. And the hood scenario is quite challenging itself.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
Yeah. More Marvel Champions. And don't worry, folks. In days to come, in episodes to come, I've got more Marvel Champions to talk about.
And I'm okay with that because I totally dig, like I have Marvel, but I'm sort of like, I would say a year behind you. And as far as the acquisition, because I just picked up Galaxy's Most Wanted. So I'm tucking into that one. And I'm just about finished Red Skull on solo play. Hawkeye. I'm digging Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Hey,
so good.
This kind of ties into some of our news part, but I got to lately play Kanban. But my version is the game I have is like one of the original Stonemeyers. And so this is Vital Lacerda, and it's published by Stronghold. And man, it's such a good Lacerda game. And when I referred to that, I referred to how it's been described by him. It's as simple as pick up a card, play a card. Right? This one is, take your meeple, put your meeple down, right? Do the action. No, because there is such deep synergistic connectivity to what you do, because when round 5 comes around and you sit back and go, in round 2, when I did that and picked up this part, I should have picked, right? And you just have this, as you're sitting there looking at everybody, your brain goes into this like hamstring muscle cramp because you just realized that you like the machine, there's going to be a cog pretty soon that's not going to fit. And the like Kanban, from what I understand, I think it's a Japanese word with the meaning of balance, or I'm just looking here quickly if I can see that. It's a Japanese word for billboard. From what I'm understanding with this game is it's basically it's the auto industry, and you're like designing, developing, making parts, putting it together, test tracking it. And it's all about automobiles. And of course, that's the theme of it. And you know what, as far as a Euro goes, the theme works. It fits with this game in regards to designing a simple vehicle or designing one with upgraded parts or a turbo or a transmission. Like every Lacerda, this game has 5 different areas, or there's different spaces that parallel connect, or I would say symbiotically connect with another department. And so just off the top of my head, you've got the production line, you've got the parts department, you've got administration, you've got design, and then you've got the test track. And you're trying to find the right combination of type of car, which is represented by the color, because there's, I think, 5 different types of cars, and the parts development and technological advancements become multipliers to the points of these cars. If you have these parts that you Lacerda, right? It comes
Mhm.
down to, when scoring comes down to, you need an algorithm or some sort of like, Euclidean geometry and calculus seminar class to start going, okay, this gets this many points because this and this is tied. It's like French grammar. Here's the base rule, and then here are all the multiple exceptions. But if you can hit those exceptions, you get bonus points. My part matches this, which, oh yeah, I love this game. Yeah,
Oh,
this is listen, this is, and I don't even need the Eagle Griffin, just it's simple, straightforward. Yeah.
oh. Yeah, I have the Eagle Griffin game, and
Mm-hmm. And I
only
envy
just
you.
I haven't actually played a full game. I've just kind of just ran through the motions of trying to teach myself of everything.
You have to.
And all that I can figure out is the real big differences. The board is laid out a little bit differently, where
Mhm.
you can actually like see the connections of like certain actions are physically connected on the. I believe that is part of the Stronghold
Yeah.
edition too, but they're not as profound
Yeah.
on it.
like
Um,
like this one, I have the original one, looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. If you just, it's like, do not do not unfocus, because you will start to get dizzy and fall down.
Yeah. And then mine has like upgraded, like it has little metal cars that go down the
Oh
assembly line.
no.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
see,
they're like little Hot Wheels that go down the assembly line.
I love my this wooden meeples, man. It's like the game's the game, because I think
Hmm.
with this one, it comes down to that game system. It's just so fluid
I
how it
know, and
works.
everything how you were describing it, like we could be talking about Lisboa. We could be talking about Vinos. We could be
Yeah,
talking about on like
Gallerist.
you could
Yeah,
talk about any of those games where it's like, yeah, you got to be doing this before you're doing this, but before you're doing that, you should be paying attention to these two things. And
yeah. There's a lot of reverse engineering when it comes down
yeah,
to what you're going to pick, and what, and also too, when your turn comes around, because with that one, depending on what department you've picked, differentiates, your initiative order where you get to
mm,
pick. And if there's two people that might block, oh yeah, there's even just picking your turn with your worker placement is a crucial decision. It pains. So
right.
fun.
Oh,
Cool.
what do we like to say on Cardboard? That it's like juicy or it's delicious.
Yeah,
It's such a delicious experience.
it's delicious.
Oh
Like
man.
chocolate.
Oh,
Cool.
Vital Lacerda, the name that I forgot that one day. I was like,
Yeah.
how did I
What's the
forget
name?
it?
What's
What
the
was that
name?
name?
Yeah.
They're all just sitting there right above my shoulder here, up on my top shelf. I got my Eagle Griffin collection. I should put
Cool.
insurance on that collection.
All right. Let's do some news. Here we go. Coming back in. And we're back. Let's get to some news. Ryan, you've
Give me
got
the
a few.
news. Do, 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 do.
Wait, Kate, no longer than a needle drop. We don't have to want to pay licensing fees. All right.
So, should we just
Hit us.
piggyback right off of what you've been talking about? Because Vital
Vital.
Lacerda and Eagle Griffin Games and Ian O'Toole have a brand new game right up on Kickstarter. And this is more like a pre-order at this point, because this thing has been going on for days now. And there's still
Mm.
like 24 days as of this recording left in this campaign. So you still got lots of time to go and check out Weather Machine by Vital Lacerda, artwork by Ian O'Toole, published by Eagle Griffin Games. It's one of the big box productions with a whole bunch of fancy upgraded pieces and components to it.
And you're not getting it because you don't need to complete your set, right?
Well, we haven't decided that yet.
Come on.
it's
You're
getting
getting it.
added to the
Stop
collection.
it.
It's
There you
been
go.
backed. I've backed it. It's gonna be one of those games I spend over $150 on, and it's just gonna sit on my shelf with all its brothers and sisters and just not be played and just taunt me.
You know what? We'll have to do a Lacerda month.
Yeah, we're like Lacerda Con.
Yeah.
where we just sit down. We just have to play through all the Lacerda games.
Yeah. And it'll be bonus points for the person who talks the most because there won't be any talking. Everybody will just be contemplating the board all the time.
Yeah.
Stoic.
You need more of these, Norm, because they all come in with solo modes. They all of them have a solo mode.
Yeah.
And is this one? Yeah, this is a David Turksey solo mode here in Weather Machine.
He's got a groove. I've got a few Turksies that have some very kind of ingenious interpretations of.
Yeah. Now I'm not 100% on the actual gameplay. I started watching the Paul Grogan gaming rules tutorial and playthrough, but that video is like, it's so long.
Yeah. It's an investment of time.
It's so long.
Chunk it away like an epic novel.
That's exactly what I've been doing, is just like, oh, we did 10 to 15 minutes here and 10 to 15 minutes there. But this has got the classic Lacerda thing that we were just talking about. And just look at the board. Like, if you go and take a look at a picture of the board, this board is busy, which is like a throwback to what you're saying about like that original Kanban board. Like, I felt like some of these Eagle Griffin games, like the versions, the way that it's laid out has been intuitive for most of these games, especially like
I'm seeing nice balance in the graphic design.
Yeah, Lisboa Gallerist was very well laid out. This one's a little bit busier than most of these other games, but I don't think that's going to deter me. And there are tons of videos out there about this, but man, does it look.
The player board looks huge.
This one looks like a table hog. Like I just finished talking last week about Imperial Steam. That one's a table hog. This one looks like a table hog in itself as well.
But I mean, the real estate comes from a lot of like I'm looking at the scale table player board to the game board, and it's about a fifth of the size. So you put all those player boards together, and it's the room of another board. Just about.
I'm trying to look at a comparison here between it and On Mars. On Mars is a huge game, and this one looks slightly larger.
Okay.
On that front, if you do get in on this campaign, you can go back and you can also purchase all of the other Vital Lacerda games that Eagle Griffin Games has. So if you have like a piece that's missing, or there's like, I missed out on Vinos and I can't find Vinos anywhere, you can get the Kickstarter edition of all of the games through this campaign.
This hurts me because I've been kind of sniffing around On Mars. Like, are there copies floating around? Well, there are now.
And they've got the expansion on here too.
Right on.
Vital Lacerda.
So this next one, is that connected to what you were playing today?
Yes, actually it is.
Nice segue.
So also on Kickstarter right now is a game system that I have been actually very interested in lately. So interested that the other day I actually picked up one of the original sets and I played it today with a guy at work, and we had fun. So on Kickstarter right now is Call to Adventure Epic Origins. There's a couple versions of this game out there. It came out, I think, back in like 2018. They did the original Kickstarter for Call to Adventure, which was a game about taking a character and taking them on a journey. And how you take them on this journey is it's a card drafting system where,
and as first theme goes, this is like high fantasy. This is like epic D&D look. Yeah.
So you can go on these journeys, and you have to complete challenges. And you complete challenges by casting. You don't roll dice in this one, but you cast ruins, which are like kind of little double-sided plastic tokens.
Cool. Those were cool.
It was really, really neat. I picked up the Call to Adventure Stormlight Archives, which I believe is based off of a fantasy novel that I haven't read, but I heard that it was the better of the two versions that are out right now, like Call to Adventure or Call to Adventure Stormlight. So I picked that one up. We played it, and it was a lot of fun. Like, I had a character going on a really cool journey, and I could recite back to you
Yeah,
exactly what was going on.
Yeah, that's the brilliance of narrative, man. The memory you develop. Absolutely.
So basically what that original game was, that you took them on this journey, and like decisions that you made, cards that you collect, depending on what you do, you gain points, various different points. And so whoever had the most epic journey at the end, by tallying up all these various points, you win. You win by having the best journey.
So it's D&D Takedo.
Kind of like that. In the one that we played, the Stormlight Archive, it has an adversary that you can both compete against. So it's kind of like a bit of a semi-co-op mode, where you do have to beat the big bad.
Yeah.
And if you don't beat the big bad, no one wins. But if you do beat the big bad, it's whoever had the most epic journey up until that point where you defeated the big bad. Now, this version, Epic Origins, from what I gather, same game going on, but there's like a campaign mode of multiple of these big bads. I believe they call them adversaries.
Nice.
And everything like that. So, got me really intrigued, because we really liked. So Jesse is the guy at work that I was playing with.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jesse listens to the show. Hi, Jesse, if you do listen to the show. He said, I don't think I would have liked this game as much if we didn't have this like overall thing that we're both working towards trying to defeat. If it was just you creating a story, me creating this story, that's cool and fun and all, but it really needed that piece. So
collaborative
I think that's
purpose. Yeah.
So I think that's what this Kickstarter is kind of doing is, hey, let's give it a mini campaign mode where you give you a whole bunch of different adversaries that you can compete against. Yeah. And really increase that. Like, this game is highly variable.
And what sounds very cool from what you're describing to me is that if it's campaign mode, the development of your character as far as from chapter point to chapter point, I mean, from start to finish, it would be just like that epic storyline of a PC and a D&D campaign, right?
Now here's a cool thing too. If you do play D&D 5th edition, there is a system built in that you can now take their journey, your character that you created, and now create the character sheet for your character. And
that's so cool.
He had the epic origin of your character, and now get them into your fantasy campaign.
Looking at it right now. Epic Origins. Yeah, and you know what? Because when I was watching you play for a bit, you were also creating your backstory as you guys were creating your forward story. You were fleshing out cool. This is I see right now. You caught me with the D&D 5e. What?
Yeah. So for just the base game here, you're looking at 40 American, 50 Canadian. For just that base game experience, they do have a deluxe edition that's coming with like card sleeves and I guess some extras and stuff like that. But
for the blingables,
But
cool.
I'm impressed with this type of game. I don't know how many times I would actually play it, but I think the times that I do play it, I would actually really enjoy it. Like, I really enjoyed today's gameplay.
Well, and for me, I'm working in the back of my head an idea for another segment or a topic where playing with the idea of memory and narrative memory, because I teach psychology as well, and I was gonna say the longitude, but how long you retain narrative memory over something else, because it's experiential, right? Because like you just said before, I could tell you exactly how this went because I remember the story, right?
Yeah, like I was a warrior,
nice.
Feeling like a whole bunch of guilt in the very beginning. And then my very first adventure is that I freed myself from my slavers with the help of my sister, and then we went and robbed a jewel mine or something like that. And oh gosh, and then what else did we do? Oh, then I tried to do something. Oh, I tried to defend the king, but I failed. And then
see, and this is what I appreciate. So, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Euros, but you never hear us talking about, hey, you remember that game when I pushed those 2 brown cubes and I got a blue one? Whoa, right? Right? You
So
know, you don't talk about that. Or, when I converted that wheat into beer, blew my mind.
blew my mind.
So yeah, no, and again, I just love the time. I love moments where you're able to connect experientially to a game. So
Yeah.
this
So as
this
of this
looks so cool.
recording, there are 9 days left in this campaign. 5,000 backers are into this thing.
Nice.
So this has got a good following behind it. It is really good. It was really good, and it was a lot of fun while we did play.
Well, and as far as like acclaim goes, it's got like the Dice Tower seal of approval and seal of excellence and tabletop gaming award and oh yeah.
And here's the thing too, if you have like all of these different sets, like there's nothing stopping you from like just like mashing all the cards together and just creating like an infinite number of possibilities.
So there's smooth compatibility. Like it. All right. So looking at this last one, it's like do you mention the fact that it's just like, hey, let's cash another one in, or do we just say
this
that
this one's just gonna be a quick. This is a quick hot take. This one's a quick hot take.
Tell me if we need this.
Yeah, come on Games, Simon Games is announcing that their 50th Kickstarter was going to be something big. And so it's coming out, and they finally just revealed it, that it is going to be a Zombicide Marvel Zombies game. So like we saw the success with What If. There was the episode with the Marvel Zombies. It was a very popular piece of comic history when they did the zombie thing. So now they're doing Marvel Zombicide, and the big draw here. I don't know if you've clicked on the link or saw this picture.
No, not yet. Okay, I'll click on it. Go ahead.
So what they did back back in a campaign called Cthulhu Death May Die. It was a very popular campaign, but part of that thing was this extravagantly over-the-top, gigantic Cthulhu miniature.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
And so in part of this one, they have this gigantic, over-the-top Galactus miniature that's going to be part of the game. Like, you take a look at that thing. That thing's
it's just about 2 feet tall.
I was going to say that's a small child standing on your table right there.
Oh yeah.
And so really, really kind of cool. So they're going to bring that Zombicide system, which I believe is just kind of like a dice chucking adventure where like you upgrade your characters, you get
that
items and loot.
System,
yeah, that Zombicide system. But now they're going to slap the Marvel. This thing is going to go. I'm predicting it right now. This thing is going to go bananas on Kickstarter. You're hitting the Zombicide fan base, which is huge. They pump out these things left, right, and center. They sell like hotcakes. And you're going to slap the Marvel IP. All the Marvel fanboys are going to be coming in onto this one as well.
Well, and just the collectors to get that huge do you call it a mini at this point?
Right?
That
and like
plastic statue.
And like that Cthulhu miniature right now, like that's a highly collectible item right now. Oh yeah. So, oh my gosh. Is this the time that I step into the Zombicides? Now that it's got this Marvel theme on it?
I'm just going to say yes to get you taunted. Oh, yeah.
We're going to definitely be doing a Kickstarter excess or value episode with Jason from Dice and Dragons and Rob from the Meeple Dungeon about this campaign, because we, in our group chat, we're like going gaga for bananas.
Oh, no.
About this one. So
you guys aren't going to help each other out at all.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
I think in the group there's going to be 3 of these Galactus miniatures.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
So yeah, that's that. They haven't announced the date for this campaign yet, but I believe it'll be coming soon. Very soon.
All right. Well, let's segue to some reviews.
You going to go first? You go
sure.
first? Sure,
yeah,
you
I'll
go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I crunched up my fisherman's friend.
Nah.
Now my sinuses are like going, whoa, Red Bull. Okay, coming back in. And thank you so much. I don't know why I said thank you so much. And we're back.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. This is Cardboard Conjecture. We're going to get into some reviews, and if
The
you don't mind,
raw
reviews.
views.
I hope everybody in the house. What is Dad doing? He's losing it. Yes,
Yeah, I'm gonna get a message from my wife right now saying, like, if you wake up the kids, you need to come upstairs right now.
Live stream or not, you're done. Okay. I'm going to. I've taken so much time and procedure and made sure that I've put more plays than usual when it comes to a conjectured review. But this one is Mind Management, the Psychic Espionage game, and it plays 1 to 5 players. Yay! With an app that's getting into development. 45 to 75 minutes, which is pretty much on point so far. And it's designed by our friends Jay Cormier and Senfun Lim. And we must identify that the art or artist is Matt Kint and published by Off the Page Games. And we, for those who haven't followed much of our podcast, we've spoken to both these designers about this game and about Off the Page Games. So little cough, sorry. And so that was the nuts and bolts. So what we're going to we're going to get into a little bit of an overview, and I'm going to read the description from the publisher because it's so good. Understanding that this is based off of an IP that I've not read before because it's near impossible to find. Trying so hard. But the description from the publisher: working from the shadows, Mind Management once used its psychically powered agents to put a stop to global crisis. However, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and Mind Management is now rotting from the inside. To tighten its iron grip on the world stage, Mind Management deploys covert cooperatives around the world to recruit other psychically attuned individuals to their side. How can this enigmatic organization hell-bent on global domination be defeated? Thankfully, a few renegade agents have figured out that Mind Management has been compromised and have defected, turning their backs on the syndicate. They now use their own psychic abilities to prevent Mind Management from achieving its nefarious goals. In Mind Management, the psychic espionage game, one player controls Mind Management and must scour the city for new recruits. They move around on a secret map, trying to visit locations that match one of their 3 randomly drawn feature cards. They can also use their 4 immortals to protect locations from being exposed. All other players control the rogue agents who must try to stop Mind Management before it's too late. They ask questions to the recruiter and deduce their whereabouts from the answers they receive. And rogue agents can use dry erase mental notes to track all of the information they're given. Mind Management wins by either collecting 12 recruits or surviving 16 turns. The rogue agents can win only by capturing Mind Management, and they do when they believe they're on the same block as Mind Management. Wow. That was a very well written description because it basically brings in a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about. Go ahead.
I sure hope folks at home are not going to be playing the, how many times can Norm say Mind Management drinking game? This episode.
Well, I had a lot of my cold script reading experience get me through a lot of that articulation. So, we like to basically the overview went right into the game mechanisms and it's not necessarily scoring points. It's basically surviving, right? So let's get right into the opinions, because in those opinions I can talk about the game as well, because you don't need me to explain or teach you the rules. Somebody else can do that. So from the outside in, as we always like to say, let's start with the box art and then go into the fonts and the graphic art. So this one, man, before we even get into this, we have to talk about the inspiration of this, which is the IP itself. And like I said, I have not read it, but I can sure appreciate the art. And Matt Kint, who is the artist and graphic novel writer. And I love the story that Jay told us about going to, I think it was a Comic-Con in New York, and just saying, who do you have to talk about to get these licenses? And right here. I just loved it, because that's basically this industry. Is there are far and few between walls that separate creative people, right? So now let's, and if you can see just right there above my shoulder is the box itself. Now so you can envision this a little bit. It's that 1950s art style, and I put a note that it looks like the old Sears catalog images as far as that coloration and fade rate to the image. What I love about it too is it reminds me of that Cold War period. A lot of it is done as far as the box art goes. A lot of it is done in watercolors, and there's a lot of juxtaposition in the imagery where there's a what you see and what appears to you, and then what is behind what appears to you or what is influencing you. And we can't we here's good grammar. We can't not talk about the box without talking about that reflective. I don't. What is the technique called? Is it UV?
I believe it's called spot UV.
Yeah. So they did such a great job by I would say underimposing, or in the background with the letterings, and on the face of the female character there's a skull, so that if you rotate it just like those little 3D kind of image changers, you get this subtle like I said, that juxtaposition, which I think just as a choice, it's as far as like the public or the producing of this, very cool. Say, hey, we could do this, awesome. But for me, thematically connected, it's so synchronous with this idea of what you see isn't necessarily what you get, because there's going to be something behind that is subliminally influencing you.
Right.
So
and what you're describing there, you only get if you have the deluxe edition of Mind Management. You do not get that spot UV hidden information thing if you have just the retail off the bookstore shelf.
Thank you for that caveat, because we don't want people going, what
my box doesn't do
drinking
that.
too much coffee when you came up with this.
What the heck? Yeah.
Okay, so now continuing on the outside of the box, there's all this. If you remember when you're now, again, myself and Ryan, when you're younger, those that kind of old school 3D glasses with the red and blue layered text, where if you put that filter, you would get a differentiated a word that pops out. And I think Decrypto uses that in regards to hiding their clues and stuff. So as far as a produced mechanism, very cool. And as far as, again, connecting with the feel of this game, where there's hidden messages and subliminal stuff all over the place, right? And they've also, like I had mentioned before, they have a little YouTube 2-3 minute things about, hey, have you seen this little hidden clue, because that opens up a new card. So continuing on, now the graphic arts, so the game is driven by its graphic arts, because it's hidden movement. You can't really use words. It's all visually driven. So I think they did a great balance of using the clues, that the feature cards of the map, because when I get into explaining that system, it's not confusing. Once you understand the context of the environment and then the features within that environment, then you start to understand the potential connectivity of the movement of both the rogue agents and the mind management recruiter. So moving on, the components, straightforward. Good cardboard, great plastic recruiter shields. They have little dry erase markers. I thought it was very clever. I've always been a proponent where people start taking notes, and I'm like, no. Unless the designer told you can, you need to understand that you can't take notes. And in this game, they address that without addressing it by saying, here's 12 or 14 little kind of brain whiteboard tokens that you can use to write any note you want, but that's all you can use. That's how you differentiate and track your information. Yeah, track your information, right? And the little footprints for identifying when you ask, have you been here? Have you been there? So great little pieces. That enough said. Boom. The rule book, readability, layout, learning curve. Now, there's some I refer to cognitive dissonance, meaning what do I pay attention to? Is it this or is it that? In regards to when rule books try to, at the same time, teach you two different paths. In this in this purpose, I'm referring to the training mission teach and the full game teach, and they do a good job. Usually, it's very confusing when you're going, do I add this card or do I not add this card? And I think they step through it pretty systematically. Once you understand how they're trying to move you through this book, and again, the book thematically matches this whole espionage kind of thing. And it's there's great examples, right? I had no problems with this book once it was like, okay, I'm going to tuck into a pretty, not necessarily deep read, but a read that requires my definitive attention. And for me, that's saying a lot. All right, so let's get straight into the game system, game style. It's hidden movement at its best, in my opinion. So you, like was mentioned, you got to get through this countdown of this timer, which is the hours of the day, and you can't try not to get caught. And you're trying to recruit 12 people before, they pinch you. And man, it's tight. Like, it's so much fun in regards to this hidden movement. So let's identify quickly. You have the recruiter that when you set up, you have these feature cards, which represent, I think there's like 18 different features. And on the board, they show you. So there's all the information is right in front of you. And each cell, like the board, the map is in a grid. I believe it's like 12 by 12 without quick referencing. Large board. Now, within each of those cells are one of two of these features. It could be a graffiti. It could be a fountain. It could be, right? There's these, and now there's 5 of them on the map. So that's how this map is populated, with all these different features or icons or locations. And there's 5 of them. So you take 3 cards. So on your map, you have 15 potential spots that you can go recruit. You now have to, as a recruiter, secretly, with in synchronous stepping of the hours of the day, move and try to gobble up or go to these sites where these features are. And that you going to this site, if there's, let's say, a lot of your planning is how many of these square cells have 2 of what I'm looking for, right? Because it is tight. I'm telling you, I'm going to get to that. It is so tight. You have, out of the gates, you have to basically mind map your path, because the rule is you can't cross over yourself. Right? Now, of course, with the rules, there's some breakers. Now, here, let's me get into that. It's a good segue. So the recruiter, variable powers. You start off with 2 recruiters that go once per game, just like every hidden movement, that you can break the rule once per game. But in this case, every recruiter has a different way they can break it. The first 2 that you start off with, one is I can jump 2 spaces orthogonally, and I can jump over my own path, so I can break that rule. And then the other one is same concept, but diagonally, right? Now, I'll get into the shift system, which basically, it's so brilliant. That's so unique about, and I love that part. So, yes, variable recruiter powers, variable rogue agent powers as well. There's 4 rogue agents. Their powers so far, right, of my knowledge, considering the shift system, so far their powers are very unique, and they stay put. Now, the recruiters, like on the recruiter's turn, they can only move 1 space. The rogue agents can move 2 spaces. So there is that fast. Once it's sort of like they move fast trying to figure out clues, and what they can do, they have actions. You're pretty straightforward actions. I'm getting into it here. You can move, you can ask, you can reveal, you can capture, and you can shake down. So the move makes sense. Move 2 spaces. The ask part is, if I'm in a space that has a tiki and some monks, which are some of these features, I can say, because I'm in this space that have these two features, I can ask about one of each. So I can go, have you been in a space that has monks? So you look through your path and go, I have. That's when you pick up a little foot and go, now you can decide. If you've been to two spaces, you can decide which one you want to identify. You just drop it down. At a certain point, if one of the rogue agents comes to that footprint and goes, I want to reveal now. So you have to flip it over, take one of those brains and go, in this hour or round, I was there. So now they have a piece of the puzzle and go, okay, so if this is at this time, and they start to backwards, draw your path. Because at the beginning, the recruiter, to I guess, prime the story or prime the adventure is you secretly pick a starting location and then you get to move 5 times. And then the rogue agents get to start. So you get this 6-hour head start of recruiting agents. So if out of the gates you haven't gotten 4 or 5, you are going to have a difficult time, right? So out of the gates, it's not just like, it doesn't slowly ramp up. It's sort of like, okay, game on now, go. And it's not just like we're going to tiptoe. It's a full sprint, because I've been the recruiter, and by the 3rd game as a recruiter, it's like, let's not snooze. We got to get going, because I know how tight it is. And I'll talk about my conclusion. It's one of my favorite conclusions right there. Now, the capture, of course, is like any other one. If you're in the same spot, you capture, you win. Shakedown is very cool because the recruiters have, they're called immortals. And I've interpreted to the fact that because it's the psychic manipulation, these immortals are very unintelligent individuals who have been mind controlled to be drones and just do what the recruiter wants. And they have these particular things where if any of these immortals are on a space that has, again, let's say a graffiti and a pond, well, you can't ask about those because the immortals have kind of grayed them out, have taken them off of your selection choice. Now, shakedown, here's the cool part. If they do a shakedown, they're basically attacking the immortals and trying to like psychically get information out of them. Now, what they do is, if they do this turn, they ask me, of the 3 cards that I have in my hand, they ask me, is it a graffiti? And if it is a graffiti card in my hand, I have to give it back to them. And I have to go to my board and erase any remaining graffitis because they're off my list now. So they've reduced the opportunity for me to get. So if on my map, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I was just about to go get that one. Oh no, I have to roll. Yeah. So yeah, brilliant right there. The unique mechanism, I've mentioned it so many times, the shift system. This shift system is a balancing, and not because something's broken, because you start to click and understand this game and become more efficient at it. And if you're more efficient at it as a recruiter, and the rogue agents are getting, if they lose, the moment you lose a game, you get to go to a shift system box and open up. So as a recruiter, I lost the first one, and they're like, okay, here's your box. I've got a new agent who has a new power, and this one is crazy power. Of course, I played it. I beat them. Oh, their turn to open their shift box, so that it's the scaffolding system. Now, here's the best part. You and I both know why they put this shift system in place, because of the story about their playtesting with was it Matt Laycock?
Yeah, they had Matt
and Bruno Feduti or something like that. Two big guys.
Yeah,
go ahead. You tell it.
And they were doing this playtest system. And basically, before the shift system came in, it was just this game with a whole bunch of rules.
Everything, yeah.
And anything is like, hey, it would be cool if we had this. Let's put it in. Hey, it'd be cool if it. And then it got so convoluted.
There's 14 of these ideas in the system, 7 on each side. Keep going.
And it got so convoluted and complicated that they're like, I have no idea what's going on.
You broke our brain. Yeah. The notes they got was, this was great, but you broke our brain. So they went back as designers and went, how can we? And of course,
we don't want to get rid of any of this.
Yeah. And us as educators, we understand that idea of scaffolding, right?
Yeah.
Before you need to know this, before you can get to here. And I think this is such a brilliant way to slowly release all of the bells and whistles of this brilliant environment that they created, because afterwards you can pick and choose what you want. The variability is so cool. Does this all connect? I don't know the IP, but as far as a hidden movement, cat and mouse game, yeah. And as far as this idea about, this psychic espionage influence, Cold War, I love me some Cold War, right? Here's my conclusions. This has definitely replaced Letters from Whitechapel.
Wow.
As far as my favorite hidden movement game. In this game there was tension through every turn. Now Whitechapel, sometimes it's like you get to run around for a bit until they kind of pick up your track, right? This one, no, holy moly, that net tightens down very, very fast. This note, it's not until the last move do you understand if you've won or lost, right? And it's come down to that with Dave and Jordan, where I'm just sitting down and they start to brain it out. And I'm like, no. Let's put some Star Wars on the TV and distract them, right? It's a Cold War tactics on my part. So for me, I want continued exploration into the shift system and the nuances of the gameplay. And I want to see the story grow. So for me, top shelf game, hands down. Boom.
Nice. How many secrets have you found?
Well, 3.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't introduced them into the game yet because I want to print them up on nice cards and kind of thing. So, yeah. Oh, that's another part too, is like finding all those Easter eggs. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
Oh,
so what have you been doing, man? What's your review?
Okay, so I was going to review Imperial Steam tonight.
No,
but quick change because Imperial Steam is, spoiler alert, fantastic. But I need more plays of the variable setups. So we're going to play that a little bit more. So next review, I'm going to review Imperial Steam. In the meantime, I picked up another Capstone game recently, part of the Capstone family and Capstone family games lineup. Also with collaboration of that Deep Print Studios. So Capstone Games and Deep Print Games have this collaboration effort that they're going for. And I talked a long time ago about Juicy Fruits. It's one of these collaborations. Juicy Fruits is a Capstone family games lineup game, and it was also made by Deep Print Games. And I'm going to talk about Savannah Park, and it is a 2021 release with designers Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling. It's a Kramer and Kiesling game, and they are
big hitters.
Yeah, they've designed so many games as a duel and everything. And I also have to commend the artist here, Annika Heller. It's just very cute and whimsical. So congratulations on that. So Savannah Park. In the heart of Africa lies a paradise of incomparable beauty. These endless expanses are home to the continent's largest land animals and present their visitor with breathtaking views. You are rangers, each running your own wildlife park in this beautiful part of the world. Help your animals to gather with others of their kind in the largest herds possible by moving them to new spaces. Secure precious water holes that increase your park's value and protect against bushfires. The more shady trees and lush grass in your park, the better as well. Once all animals have been moved, the game ends, and let the point scoring begin. So Savannah Park is, I'm going to call it out right now, it is a very cool take on the bingo system, where we've seen this in a game like, I'm trying to remember it, Karuba.
Yeah.
Remember Karuba? Where all the players start with the exact same amount of tiles. Same thing's happening in Savannah Park. Everybody's starting off with the same 33 animal tiles. Except for they're not in a stack beside your board. They have been randomly distributed around your player board at the very beginning. So I have the exact same 33 tiles as you do, but the configurations on my player board is probably completely different than the configuration on your board because they were all laid out randomly at the very beginning.
Cool.
And a turn is very simple. I'm going to call out an animal tile. I'm going to say the tile with the 2 elephants on it. Now, you and I both have to flip that tile over to our player color just to signify that that tile has been moved, and you have to move it to a different place on your player board. And so some places are already, like, based off of the random configuration, some places are open. So you're going to place it on there. And then you're going to call out an animal tile, and you're going to say, we need to move that tile now. What you're trying to do is you're trying to create herds of these animals. And I believe there are 6 different animal types. And some tiles actually have like multiple different animals on them.
Cool.
And those therefore would contribute to each of their own herds. Now, how you actually score points, though, is that, yeah, I could have a herd of elephants, but that herd of elephants is not worth anything unless if there's an elephant watering hole part of that herd.
Okay.
And you can actually get extra points because there might be another tile out there that has an elephant and an antelope drinking from a water hole. So if that's also part of the elephant, now the elephant herd is worth double points because it's got 2 watering holes. And then there's one tile on the board where all of the animals are drinking from a watering hole. And so therefore, if you have 3 watering holes in a herd, it's worth triple the amount of points. So it's a very nice puzzle to try to figure out. Now, part of Savannah Park, and part of the little joys of Savannah Park, is that there are multiple modes of play, which is really, you just talked about a game that has the scaffolding system of the shift system. This actually has kind of like if you want to treat it like it, kind of like a scaffolding system. There is a variant for children, which is what I was actually drawn to. And it's just a very big open space. Lots of room to move your animals around. Very easy to create herds. Now, once you kind of understand the system, you can flip the board over. And now it's got these burning bush tiles and these greenery tiles. Now, if greenery tiles are still open at the end of the game, they're worth bonus points. So if they have not been covered, bonus points. The burning bush tiles you have to plan around because there's a tile that is a single burning bush. If there are any tiles that have a single animal around that burning bush, before you do scoring, those animals run away. You have to discard the tile, possibly breaking up a herd. At that. And then there's a 2 burning bush tiles, so any tiles that have 2 animals run away from that one. Cool. And then there's a 3 burning bush that does the same thing. Wow. For such a simple little bingo game, there is a lot of frustrating moments that can happen in Savannah Park. So before I get to my opinions, let's get on into the outside in. So the box is your standard ticket to ride size box. Very wonderful, cartoony animal art. Regan loved it because he see all the animals. There's the lions and the rhinos and blah blah blah. I'm gonna get into the components because what this game did was something very very cool that I don't see very often in games production wise. So everybody has their own set of tiles. Normally, what would a publisher do if everybody has their own set of tiles? They just give you a plastic baggie and say, put all the tiles for that one player into a baggie.
Yeah.
Not here. You get your own tuck box that you get to store all of your tiles into.
Nice.
And so you get this big, nice, and the cardstock quality, amazing on these tuck boxes. Very easy to fold and put together.
Oh, nice.
And then they all fit in the box ever so cool that they actually create a panorama of like all of the animals that are in the game.
Oh, cool.
And so, you just take out the box of the color that you want. You pass it to the player. You just randomly draw out the tiles, place them on your player board. Bada bing, bada boom. You're all set up
Nice.
and ready, and you're all set up and ready to go. So I like the fact of the tuck box.
Yeah.
And it didn't really add, it just added that little extra organization to the game, because that's really all this game is some player boards, some tiles.
Yeah.
That's all we got going on. They give you a little meeple of a meerkat. We always talk about meerkats in your French immersion students and everything. But you get a meerkat meeple, and all he does for you is that when I pick up my tile to move, the meerkat goes into the spot just to remind you that you can't place it back in that. It's just a little like placeholder that you can't put it there.
Just like Quadropolis.
Yeah. Other things we got going on here. This is a very lovely rule book. If you have juicy fruits, or if you remember my talk about juicy fruits, this is a very similar layout, kind of like how Aaliyah Ravensburger has their very similar layouts in their rule books.
Yeah.
Deep Print Games is doing a very similar thing where all their rule books kind of look very similar in style, which I really appreciate because they're laid out very well. Lots of visuals. One read through here, and there is no confusion of what you're actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of continuity.
And it's not a long read. Actually, most of the last pages are just all the variants that how you can play this game. There's a solo mode if you're interested in that, Norm.
Yay.
Yeah, and then I said there's the children mode, and then there's the actually more variable setup, like those greenery and burning bushes tiles could actually be randomly placed around the board. Very good rule book, very good components, no complaints here. Let's get into the gameplay. And one big beef I do have with this game is that since it is a tile game and all of the tiles are starting on your board, it is very easily to bump all of your tiles and they go flying everywhere and you have no idea where they actually were. And I have a clumsy son who is 6, and I'm trying to play this, and he's like, he goes to pick up one tile, and it's like, I go to pick up a tile, and boosh, all 6 tiles around it go blah everywhere, and you're like, okay, I think it was kind of like this at some point in time. Anyways, very small complaint. Especially if you're like, hey, I want to take out the antelope tile, but the antelope tile is already surrounded by a whole bunch of others. Got to very like do like the claw machine with your fingers, go down and try to pick it up and type.
It's a tweezer game now.
This game creates lots of cool moments because you really have to think about, which groups of animals am I going to go for trying to clump together? And if I'm going to do that, well, I've got to actually create space around those animals to put the animals. Oh, wait, but the other players at the table may not be calling out those tiles for me to clear out.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like this delicate balancing act of, okay, on my turn, I'm trying to clear out tiles. And once tiles are cleared out, I'm hoping that my opponents are going to call animals that I can put in.
Yeah.
Until you get to a point where it's like, okay, I finally got big enough space that I can start kind of maneuvering and getting my herds together. It is very, very, very difficult, especially if you have the burning bushes in play, to plan out to get all of the animals. I believe there's 11 of each of the animals across all of the tiles, to try to get them all into one herd. It is very difficult. You might be able to do it with one of the herds, but you're giving up that you're going to be able to do it with other herds as well. So it's very cool, and you can kind of see the other players' board saying, okay, don't say rhino, because if I pick rhino, that's really going to help out Regan's board, or it's going to really help out Jen's board. So there's kind of hate drafting. Very, very well could be in this one. So I like that part that you get to pick the tile. It's not a random draw of, hey, this is the tile that's everybody's going to move. So there is the strategy in that regards. Oh my goodness gracious. This game is a lot of fun. For what it is, this family weight game, I don't know, this just because that's where my family is right now in our gaming evolution. But I'm really enjoying these family weight, very simple, but you know what? You can change the game and make it more difficult on yourselves. Like when Regan plays, he doesn't play with the burning bushes. He plays on the side that it's completely open. But Jen and I, while playing with him, we'll play on the side that's much harder.
Okay,
and it all balances out because he still can get all of his animals.
And you still play the same game, but you're
I'm more restricted of where I can place my things.
Nice.
And he's a little bit more open, so then it's a little bit fair. And he wipes the floor with us.
Brilliant. I like it.
So, where am I at here? Conclusions? Am I at my conclusions?
I think you're at conclusions, yeah.
Yeah, because the gameplay is really, really quite simple. Just call out the tile, flip them over, move it, try to create the herds. Really neat, interesting, tense decisions where it's like, oh, why did you call that tile? Really? Could you just call any other one? Because I have plans.
Don't say that one.
I have plans for that rhino. That rhino's got a spot to go on my board. And don't say it now.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Okay, this one's going on the middle shelf. This one's going right next to Juicy Fruits.
Right on
the Capstone Games family. Actually, I'm gonna say it right now. Capstone Games, if you're listening to this, pump out more of these Capstone Game family type of games because, man, I've enjoyed the first couple that you have made.
Yeah.
And Regan's enjoyed the first couple that you have made. We were very interested to see what is coming up and coming down the pipeline because this is a game, and this is a game company that I'm really paying attention to. They're knocking it out of the park. Like their production values,
absolutely.
the types of games they're making. I equate it to Flat Out Games. That design team at Flat Out Games is really good.
Oh, they're firing on all cylinders. That's for sure. Yeah.
Capstone Games is the
both companies.
Capstone Games is the company to beat for me at this point in time in gaming here. They got the nice heavy Euros. And then they got this family lineup of games too.
The Simply Complex line, like the Climbers. I love the Climbers.
Yeah, and the Estates. They had the Estates, which is a very simple game, very deep. Oh man, loving everything. This one's going on the middle shelf. Savannah Park. Highly recommend. It's a fairly new title. You can go get it for the Christmas season. Pick it up for a family game night.
Yeah.
I don't think very many people will be disappointed in the play here.
Right on. Well, that being said, that's another fun episode. We got into a lot of Vital, and we got some news and some reviews. The reviews. And if you've gotten to this point, as always, thank you so much for tolerating our nonsensical banter. And I'm your host, Norm.
And I'm Ryan, the Tiger King.
and we'll catch you much later. Cool.
And we are out. I think there's some people viewing us on the interwebs. Hello, folks that were watching us. We're going to be signing off now because Norm's going to start planning his production for What You've Been Playing Wednesdays.
Yeah, we're going to record that segment off the stream. And whoops, I guess I better pull that up here. I'm not very good at transitions.
That's all right.
And diddle-oo, 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 diddle-oo.